I
Aaron,
hope you do well, and I hope you have a
don't
wonderful time with your business, okay?
don't patronize me, man.
I'm not
Like literally,
patronizing. I'm just letting
you
you know. I'm just letting
you
you know. Thank you so
look,
much
man.
for your
How
time,
about how
okay?
about how about how about how about
Have a
this? How about this? How
have a
about just
wonderful rest of your day,
how about
okay?
just saying an apology and
Thank
saying that
you.
it's not going to happen again, man? How
Thank
come we
you.
can't even do that? Why are you
Please.
being so like
I'm not.
like
I'm just letting you
disrespectful to me,
know.
man?
Please watch the Slave Circle on YouTube, and if you have
I've
any
seen
questions, that's where you can find your answers. So thank you
Aaron,
very much.
Aaron,
And this conversation is over. Have a
Aaron,
wonderful rest of your day.
Aaron.
Okay, Aaron, you worked for a Credico subsidiary for 6 months in 2020. So this was right in the middle of the COVID pandemic.
Yes.
And you contacted us first. It had been a few months after you'd left. This was at the end of 2020. And some of the things that you talked about, to use your words, were that you were lying to yourself. There were so many things that they said and did that never sat right with you. And among other things, you mentioned previous things that you committed to, but after working there, you were pretty much shamed when you said that you wanted to take time off to do certain things. So,
Mhm.
like I said, this was a few months after you left, so you had time to kind of decompress and think about what you had gone through for those 6 months. So, would you
Yes.
mind sharing a little bit about what you meant by lying to yourself and the red flags that really jumped out at you?
Sure, absolutely. So those red flags that were within, the lying to myself, those red flags were it's kind of weird because those red flags is like you kind of had to dig to find those red flags. You didn't see them waving. You had to think about what they said and what they would do. One of the things that they talked about were this thing called the three pillars of leadership, and there were three things that were as a account manager that you had to focus on, which was sales and a couple of other things, but I don't remember the other things frankly, because sales is the only thing that I remember at this point because I figured out that sales was the only way to move forward. Leadership didn't matter. Showing that you were able to help out around the office, that didn't matter. Sales was all that was important. But of course, they downplayed it, but once you figured it out, it's like, okay, sales is all that matters because they have this system called trend, and trend is essentially the more in a layman like a simple terms like the more sales you get, the higher on the ranking system you are. If you're in the green, that means that you have a higher chance of getting an interview thrown at you. If you're in the white, that means you don't get an interview thrown at you, but you can shadow an interview. And if you're in the red, well, you get butt kiss. You get nothing. So that that figuring that out that was fun to figure out. So
Mhm.
it,
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, especially early on in my research of these companies after I left, I know, and when I was there too, sales is completely downplayed, and I
absolutely.
know some of these companies have since evolved to calling themselves a sales firm or sales and marketing, something like that. But it was always marketing when
Yeah.
I was there. It never like sales was a dirty word essentially. You never wanted to
Yeah.
use that word.
Yeah. That was said a lot. Hmm.
What kept you there for 6 months?
What kept me there was honestly the big picture that they would sell, of financial freedom, being able to do whatever you want when you want, having to get to the point where you don't have to go out to the field anymore. You just delegate things in the office and then you go home, that sort of thing. And the whole entrepreneurial aspect of it too. I thought wow, there's like really no other business like this where they can offer this sort of opportunity. I was a guy that was fresh out of college too, so
Yeah.
that that didn't help either.
Yeah.
So that's what kept me there.
Okay. So in your message, you said at one point you were having a conversation with another account manager, and the term pyramid scheme was brought up, and that was something that you really hadn't heard of or hadn't considered before. And this was when you were still there.
Yes.
So what was kind of the context of that conversation? And then after that conversation, what came of that?
So the context of that, and we can do this in the context of the business itself and, just what was happening that day. It was just a day after out in the field. We're all back at the office, and, it's that point where, people are, going through people's days and whatnot. And, I had already gone through a few people's days. I was pretty much done with that. And we were just sitting in the front lobby, and just shooting the stuff, talking with other people, because that's what you do. And they were the person who mentioned it and some other people, they were having just a conversation, and in the context of the business, they were nagging out, so, or negging out, yeah, that's it. So they were complaining about, they weren't making enough money, and such things like that. And it got to the point where one of the other reps was like, just said it flat out, it's a pyramid scheme. And, the business owner wasn't around, for any of that. So, that kind of time in that sort of context, they don't want that happening at all. And, I just happened to be there, and I heard that term, and I was like, pyramid scheme? Like, I never heard that term in my life at all. And what came about it afterwards was initially nothing. And I say that because, you get back into the flow of the business. You're getting up early, working all day, going home tired, they keep running you around like that. And, I wasn't able to think about, I heard the term, but I wasn't able to explicitly, really think about it for a while, because I just got back in the flow of things. So honestly, I kind of forgot about it.
Sure. Yeah, you go into autopilot because every day is essentially the same, and you have this script that you follow, and your days are pretty much regimented to the extent that it's just like, oh well, whatever, I have to do this stuff that I have to do every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what were a few of the things you said in your message that you got, in a sense, low-key shamed for wanting to take off for certain things? What were some of those things?
Okay, so both of those things were the same. They were both weddings. There were weddings of my significant other and their friends, for both of those events. And I would go to my leader and say, hey, I'm gonna need to take off for this day because there's a wedding this day. And it happened, those couple of times that happened. The one time I don't actually remember, but the second time I definitely remember, where I came up to my leader and said, hey, I need off for this day because we're having a wedding. And he was like, oh, I never take days off. I would never take a day off. What, like, why would you do that? I would never take a day off. And I was like, that's why we're different. Okay. And, still with wanting to succeed in the business, I didn't, flat out say, flat out, like, completely reject what he was saying. I was just saying that, we're different. I had these obligations prior to working here, and, I want to see them through because that's just how I am, and I like spending time with friends and family.
Yeah, and such a foreign concept, because any legitimate place you work, if you tell them, because I'm assuming this wasn't like the day of. You're like, these dates months in advance.
Yeah, I knew these dates months in advance, and well, not months, it was weeks, definitely quite a few weeks. Still in either case, it's the same thing. And in a legitimate business place, especially where I work now, it's like I tell my manager, hey, I need to take off for this day because this is a family vacation. And he'll say, okay, yeah, we'll do that. Or he'll say, let's work something out here. I want you to be able to do that. There's an actual conversation, because you're human. You guys are talking about just an employee wanting to take off, and there's no shaming involved at all. So That was pretty crazy.
One of the things really quickly I forgot to ask you, in the phone call that we're going to hear in a little bit, the name Core Vision Consulting was brought up, and I know that was
Yeah.
Moises's company. Did you work there as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, it was all the same place.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, but what he was, especially what he was saying in the phone call, is trying to separate the two businesses, but every single check that I got had LAE Consulting on it, so I don't really care about that.
And I think I'm just doing some quick searching
Yeah,
right here.
take a look.
Same address.
Yep, same address.
Same building.
They're in the same office. They share the same space. It's
same exact space. Yeah.
The same exact space. Yes. If you looked at the website for LAE, I think it would still have Moises up as a assistant manager or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what the term was, but I did see him on there. So you decided to leave in September, and eventually, you found out some interesting information after you left, correct?
Yeah, I need to explain this whole leaving thing. This was a whole entire thing. So here's what happened with me leaving. So the last thing that I did while working at that space was a business road trip to Missouri. So we went down to St. Louis, and it was towards the end of the week, and I was working just working some territory just to do some sales, of course. And I just suddenly felt really ill. Like, I felt really ill. I couldn't move. I was out of breath. I was feeling horrible. And later to find out, and due to me going to the second wedding, I caught COVID. And it was a blessing in disguise, because you catch COVID, and I was absolutely miserable. I could not go out and do anything for the rest of the week. I was just pretty much out. I was staying in the Airbnb we were at, and I couldn't do anything. I felt horrible. And getting back to the office in Wisconsin, and being sick like that, like being able to sit there, I had time to think. And for the most part, I had time to think, because he still tried to do weekly meetings, and of course I attended those. And it got to the point where he was like, I thought I had COVID, but I didn't. And it was just a cold that I usually get. And one of the things that he said that that just made me really angry, and it made my significant other angry too, was that he just said, don't use COVID as an excuse. And I'm sitting there with body aches, coming back from dry heaving, just going, are you like, you're serious? Like, he's serious about this, and you didn't even catch it. I don't know if you even believe in it. Like, that's a whole nother subject. But just saying that and just disregarding what other people go through, that was more or less the last straw. And at that point, everyone was putting in their days for, hey, I'm going to be coming back on this day. Everyone did their day, but he called me and said, I got a date from everybody who's coming back to the office but you. And at that point, I had already chosen that I was going to quit. So I said, yeah, I'm not coming back. So after saying that he was not coming back, just sitting there having time to think, thinking back to that conversation where other people were talking about, how that account manager mentioned that it was a pyramid scheme. I'm like, pyramid scheme, what is that? So I look it up on YouTube, and I saw a documentary, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then I saw your documentary. And that blew my mind. That absolutely blew my mind. And I still watch it from time to time, because it's like, holy moly, I worked here. This is exactly what we did. We didn't say juice or anything like that, but everything else was there. The environment, the terms, how everything was conducted, how it represents definitely more nefarious things, because it really is a cult, and it just blew my mind. So yeah, that made that's how I found out, and that was pretty interesting finding out after the fact.
Something else you mentioned is that you received some messages after you decided to leave from people that didn't really appreciate you leaving.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is interesting because I think most people, when they decide, I mean, the term I often reference is human inventory, Eric Scheibler's term from his book. And I think that's how a lot of people see themselves in this business once they get out. It's human inventory. If you decide to leave, well, that's okay. We got to interview, call 100 people tomorrow anyway. We'll find somebody to replace you.
Pretty much.
But I've been hearing from a lot more people now that there's a lot of resistance to the idea of people leaving, which is something that, like, you said this word too. I didn't put this word in your brain. You said cults. If you look at any other cults that have ever existed, Jamestown, Scientology, any of these others, if anyone decides to leave, there's repercussions and you're essentially cut off. So I'm kind of curious as to, number one, do you know why you received these messages? And number two, what were these things that were being sent to you?
It was essentially more shaming. One of them was more shaming. Both of these were on Snapchat, because I had posted a tiny clip explaining how from your documentary, from how the structure of these businesses is ridiculous, how it's shaped like a pyramid where you have to keep recruiting people and things like that. And a couple of people from there responded to it. One of them said, "You could be doing something with your life. What are you doing, bro?" and whatnot. And then the other one was actually kind of a jab at you, saying, "Oh, that guy looks real successful." And I didn't know it at the time, but after just watching some of your videos about your extra takes and talking about how you've gotten your master's degree and how you own your own business and how it's a legitimate thing. I wish I knew that at the time, but it's like, well, that's two things that you don't have, or at least you have no grounds for saying that. You're just making a jab at someone and you don't even know what's going on with them. So yeah, those kind of things, those were the content of those messages that I had gotten sent. And it was heartbreaking, because you're in a place like that and you're thinking, oh wow, all they're our friends, we see each other all the time, not like they tell you that you have a choice, but you see those guys all the time, and you legitimately think that that they're your friends. Then the business refers to them as future business partners and whatnot. And it was definitely a bit heartbreaking, but it is what it is. And I haven't talked to either of them since. So
sure. Fast forward a few months after that, because when you initially reached out to us, I think it was primarily just to
say
provide to say hi, provide information,
say hi,
right?
provide info, say thank you. And I was on the fence about doing an interview like this, because I had seen these sort of things, and I was like, oh well, there's so many other people that are speaking out, I don't have to do that, I guess. But I at least want to reach out and say, I really appreciate the work that you've done, thank you so much. And it's one of those moments where you're like, sometimes you wish somebody would, and then they do. And then you're just like, okay, I'm going to assess the situation, because I'm not going to sit down and, take what stuff you're throwing at me, which is definitely prompted me to say, okay, we need to talk. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was about 4 months later, you reached out again. And it was a threat primarily
Absolutely.
that got you to come forward. So and you did send some media, which we will dissect here in a minute. But can you kind of just take us through what was the spark that lit that whole situation?
Right. So to start it off, I'm going to start off with the first time. The first time he reached out to me saying, "Hey, I saw these posts referring to us as a pyramid scheme. What was up with that?" And I was honestly still a bit kind of fearful at the time, because I was like, "Oh no, that was just a joke and things like that." And I didn't really stand up for myself at that point. But it felt really weird that he was really monitoring my posts like that. Not saying that it's once people see your stuff, they see it. That's how it is. There's that sort of aspect. But
Sure.
to just to really contact me like that out of the blue, me trying to work my new job and everything, I didn't really want that sort of stress. So I went ahead and pretty much unfriended him, and pretty much unfriended him. So he had no way to see my post or anything like that.
And this is your former owner that you're talking about?
The former owner, yes.
Okay.
So that was the first time around. Second time around, I had made those posts again, and I just find this funny how the post that he responded to was a meme. First of all, it was a meme saying that, it just had this person, like looking off in the distance or something like that. It had text on it saying, I may be depressed, but at least I'm not like a quote unquote business owner, like in a pyramid scheme and whatnot, and that sort of thing. And in the comment that I made with the post said FLAE Consulting.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it said there. And I had made another post like that on Snapchat. Mm-hmm. And now, at this point, he has no access to my Facebook page at all. He can't see anything. But out of the blue one day, and in April, when he was saying that, and these are his text, he's saying that, in your own interest, I would highly suggest calling me back, Aaron. I will give you till the end of the day. If I hear nothing from you, then unfortunately, that will not be ideal. This is time sensitive. And then he sent me a picture of non-compete and slander agreement. So he sent me a picture of that too. And here's the thing, I did not recognize his number at all. I had no clue who it was. And, he said, this is John. And, from there on, and I was at work too. And, my heart's racing. I'm like, what's going on here? What? And I was, confused, and it was definitely scary to, just get a threatening, definitely a not very peaceful text like that out of nowhere. So, that call I had recorded and sent to you, and that whole entire ordeal was pretty much the spark that lit the fire, because, he threatened to sue and everything. And it was just, that was definitely the spark that lit it, because at first, this whole time, I'm watching all of these, extra takes and things like that. And I'm like, it's good to see that, there are other people who have experienced what I've gone through. And, I think it's really cool that they're talking about this and everything. Mm-hmm. And, he does that to me. And at first I was on the fence, but now you're threatening to sue me, mm-hmm. especially when you have no grounds to, mm-hmm. let alone maybe even the money to. Mm-hmm. That lit the spark, and I said, okay, I'm contacting you again, and this needs to be said. I'm not gonna be threatened and be silenced. Sure. That's not how this works.
And I applaud you for that, because as we'll all hear in a minute when we dissect this phone call, he was very upfront about the fact that he was not afraid to pursue legal action. Mm-hmm. And I think for many people, I know for a fact that is a reason why many people choose not to come forward either at all, or they'll either say, I'm just sending this message to you, thank you, whatever, I don't want to do an interview, but for this reason. And I think that can be very intimidating for a lot of people, because just the thought of possibly being sued for something that you've said or something that you've written, and the whole legal process, and I could lose this. I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to deal with that either. The thing to remember, the thing to know though, is that for various reasons, it's almost impossible for that to happen.
Honestly,
And if it should happen to anybody, it should be me, and it hasn't in 3+ years. So yay. But I want to get into this conversation. So in the interest of legality, you worked for this company, LAE Consulting, which is located in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Wisconsin is a one-party consent state. We're not going to identify, I'm not explicitly going to identify who the other party is in this conversation, but anyone who wants to know could find that out with minimal research. But you, being a one-party consent state, do you consent to having this conversation played?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I consent.
All right. So I'm just going to play this for a couple minutes, and then we'll stop and we'll start dissecting it a little bit.
Sounds good.
Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going, man. It's going.
That's good. That's good.
So, I just have a couple quick questions for you, and then I'm gonna explain a couple things to you.
Sure. What's going on?
Well, first off, I want to know, like, what did I do to you, or what did we do to you that was so negative that you feel the need to slander us?
Slander?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So, on Snapchat and on social media, on Facebook, I'll pull one up as an example. It says mood, fuck LAE Consulting, with laughing emojis. No matter how bad things get, at least I'm not stuck in a pyramid scheme convinced that I'm a business owner.
And what was the Snapchat one?
Say again?
There was a Snapchat one?
I believe that, that's the Snapchat one. I believe the one that I'm looking at right now. But from what I understand, there is also, that's the Snapchat one I'm looking at right now. And then there is a Facebook one as well.
He comes out of the gate with this heavy emotional appeal, right? Like, if anyone had ever called me for any reason and said, what did I ever do to you to get this reaction from you? I would kind of probably be like, what are you talking? And I'd feel bad. I'm like, what did I do? What could I have possibly done? And then he throws the S word at you, right? Slander, which is a legal term, right? Which a lot of people don't understand, but yeah, it's a legal term. And so if I'm being faced with such legal terminology, I'm going to be thinking, okay, well, what are we talking about here?
Right.
So, what were you at that point? I mean, like you said, you kind of set up this whole conversation where you received this notification. You didn't know who it was at first, and you really didn't know what this was about, apart from the contract or apart from the paperwork that you signed. But as he's coming at you like this, what are you feeling? What are your emotions at this point?
Well, let's see. At this point, let me start off with the slander part. I had already done research on what slander is, and the watered down part of it is that slander is spoken. In print, it's liable. Thanking J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man 3, I believe. Yeah. So, and here's the thing. You'll hear that, but I want to do more research on it. So, doing research on what slander is, in print it is liable, and print includes, social media, includes, typing something out and posting it. That is considered print. That is considered print. So. It wasn't slander,
right? And libel is a hell of a lot harder to prove. Number one.
Oh yes.
And number two, I love how you will mention this later in the conversation, but he made it sound like you wrote that it was a pyramid scheme, which you
Right.
didn't. You
I did
posted
not.
a meme. Right.
I posted a meme that I did not create at all. I'm not that much of a meme I'm not that much of a meme maker. I don't make them. I mean, I kind of am one amongst my friends, but you know, I did not make that one at all. I shared that. I shared it.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you obtain anything like that?
Say again?
How did you obtain this proof of
It's
slander?
on social media, man. It's public, dude. And I've got access to this, right? And I'm seeing this,
Well,
and
those are my private accounts. Nothing's posted publicly. Only my friends can see that. Nobody else can.
The thing is, man, is first off, like, I'm not sure what we did to offend you, and I'm sorry if that's literally the case. You know what I mean? Second off, you worked for Core Vision Consulting before, like we parted on good terms as far as I'm concerned. You transferred from our company to his company, and there was no ill will, or there was no like negative animosities. Third off, we're not even a pyramid scheme, Aaron. I hope you know that. Like, I don't think you do know that, actually, to be honest with you, because I've actually worked for Melaleuca, which is a pyramid scheme. My mom worked for Pampered Chef, which is a pyramid scheme. Well, it's not even a pyramid scheme. It's called multi-level marketing if you want to be respectful, which clearly, that doesn't mean anything to you, because you're taking shots, and you haven't worked here in months, 7 months, 8 months. And so, like, I don't know what we did to offend you so bad that you'd have to take shots. And it's like, you were a W-2 employee. You had taxes. Like, there's nothing to suggest that we're a pyramid scheme. We didn't ask you to pay us money to work for us. And, like, that's considered slander.
I love how when he's talking about Pampered Chef, he's very clear to make the distinction. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's technically an MLM, which is the respectful term.
Yeah.
For a pyramid. He didn't say this, but essentially what he's meaning is they're the same thing. MLMs and pyramid schemes are the same thing, which technically they are, even though legally they aren't.
Yeah.
And of course, he takes the jab at you. You wouldn't know anything about being respectful. And one of the main lines, I remember this, I still have it in my notebooks. One of the main lines taught in these companies is if someone says it's a pyramid scheme, one of the defenses is, we're not asking you for money. We don't ask you to pay us. There's no pay to play, which true, but that's not the only definition of a pyramid scheme. You can have a pyramid scheme and not pay to play.
Exactly.
And if you really want to get technical, everyone who's ever worked for Credico, Smart Circle, Sidcore, APCO, and Cobra Group have paid to play. It's not with money, but it's with time.
Effort.
It's with effort. It's with, like in your situation and countless others, missing major events, having to go without eating because you can't afford it, being required to move across the country for this opportunity because your business got shut down, which again makes no sense, but that's what a retrain is.
Yep.
So there is pay to play there. It's just not as pure as a pyramid scheme is.
Exactly.
But anyone who looks at the evidence could make an argument, a very reasoned argument, that LAE Consulting and any of these other little marketing firms, these sales firms, are pyramid schemes, because it definitely seems like they are.
Yes.
So then he starts to bring up slander again. So that's what this next part is talking about. And then you also bring up libel.
All of that you put down. And then on top of that, I sent you a picture. I sent you a text message that you legally signed paperwork saying that you would not slander the company. And I could sue you for this. And I'm not going to right now. If you did it again, I will. But like, dude, that's defamation. That is a federal offense. You can't do that.
Wait, as far as that contract that I signed, it says while as a rep, and I'm not a rep.
No, you can't. Like, you can't do it. It's like, period. You don't even need to sign paperwork, Aaron. You can't be a previous employee and you can't slander a business. Like, you just can't do that. I'm not AT&T, so if I was a big billion-dollar brand, one tiny comment isn't going to make a big deal. But like my small business, that does make a huge deal, and companies do sue for those kind of things. And it's not funny. Like, you're talking about livelihoods here, man. This is not a pyramid company.
That reps agree not to attack and criticize. I'm not a rep.
Dude,
that's what it says here.
No, you are a rep. You are a representative of LAE Consulting. That means you, as the individual who has worked in my company, you are a representative of my company. You signed the paperwork stating that you would not actually like slander the business. And on top of that, you can't do that anyways. Like, you should know that. Like, you can't work for a company and then slander their business. That's called defamation. You can't do that, man. It's illegal.
Slander is spoken. In print, it's liable.
Like,
that includes the websites. Both of them were social media and websites. So because of that, they're liable. So there's really nothing else that can be done there. And in any case, the posts have already been taken down. There's really nothing else to explain.
So
is this conversation done, or?
So I love, and we'll hear this. You don't back down here, and you end up using a technique that these owners use a lot of the time, and that's just you just keep going, right? Because and there are times, and I applaud you for that, because someone who wasn't as prepared, as you said, you did the research, and someone who might not have been as ready would maybe have backed down a little bit. And he's trying to interrupt, and as soon as you said, no, that's not slander, that's libel, you pretty much shut him up. Now he's looking for another route. Okay, well, this guy knows his stuff. How else can I make him sound not credible? How else can I shut him down? How else can I make him sound like he doesn't know what he's talking about? And so now he tries to shift. Another emotional appeal is that he's going to try to shift this to, my livelihood, my company, my family, all this sort of stuff.
Are you going to keep threatening?
It's not done. Here's my point. I just need you to be aware of this, because here's the deal. If I ever see anything whatsoever bashing my company or attacking my company, I am taking you to court. It's not a funny thing to me. You're messing with my family and my livelihood when you attack me and my company. So it is, and everybody who works there, it's not okay. So do never comment anything about my company ever again. Ever again. Number two, make sure that there's nothing on social media at all in reference to me and you and our business, because as far as I'm concerned, we left on good terms, but clearly we obviously didn't, because you're still attacking me 7 months after we haven't even talked, we haven't even spoken together. The last company you worked for in our business was Moses's company. It wasn't even my company. So I'm telling you, respectfully, as a human being, do not attack me again, because now you're just going to open up the floodgates, and I'm not going to stand for it, man.
It's not an attack.
When you make comments like that, that's an attack. How am I supposed to take that?
How else is that an attack? And
you called my company a pyramid scheme, number one, which you know it's not.
But didn't you just say that pyramid schemes to be no? Okay,
no, I'm taking your words, and I'm saying that's what you call saying the word pyramid scheme is an insulting term for a multi-level marketing business. We are not a multi-level marketing business, Aaron.
So you're a pyramid scheme.
What?
You said that you're not a multi-level marketing just now.
No, Aaron. Multi-level marketing is the official proper business term for what people are talking about when they talk about pyramid schemes. Pyramid scheme is a derogatory slang term used to describe multi-level marketing. That's what a pyramid scheme is. It's a derogatory term used to describe a multi-level marketing business. Number one, we are not a multi-level marketing company. Adam, have you ever worked for one before?
Adam?
I mean, not Adam, Aaron. Sorry, I said Adam because I was looking at something. Aaron, have you ever worked for a multi-level marketing business? Like, I'm asking genuinely. I'm not asking negatively. I'm just genuinely asking. Have you ever worked for a multi-level marketing business?
As far as these questions go, I don't really know if there's really anything else to answer. I mean, the posts are already down. I mean, I don't know what else there is to
Before we started this conversation, you had talked about how your owner really was not shy about mentioning the parent company.
Yeah, wasn't
your
shy
morning
at all.
meetings, right? And that's kind of unique. I mean, I usually don't hear that. Usually the parent company is kind of secretive, kind of ignored, not talked about. So what was that like, hearing the first time he mentioned the company? Were you kind of like, well, who is this? And was that kind of what led to this belief of, well, maybe this is a multi-level marketing operation?
He mentioned Credico often, several times throughout the week. And, you know, I just thinking back on when he would talk about it, you know, it sounded like he was like championing these guys. Like, these guys, this is a company that, you know, isn't like, I don't know, like not following like the status quo, or, you know, these guys are unique because they're the only type of business that offers this sort of opportunity to people and things like that. It was a lot of praising, you know, praising Credico and whatnot. You know, that's the only word, you know, besides like, you know, like Cobra Group or anything like that. You know, I didn't hear any other terms other than Credico. Just that's all I heard was Credico. Yeah.
Okay.
But he praised the heck out of those guys.
Moving ahead in this conversation, he's going to try to tie in reviews, and something that I've heard from multiple people just through comments and through responses on other people's reviews of these businesses is that people don't write positive reviews anymore. It's only something that if you have a beef with a company or if it's a negative review, that's what you see, which is completely false. Because I can't tell you how many places I've researched in my locality where I live, which is just not, 4.7 stars, 4.8 stars, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reviews. So the fact that nobody gives positive reviews, it's just a blatant lie. It's just a way for these owners to try to cover up, whoever writes a review, it's all negative. There's no positivity. Blatant lie.
Right.
And he's going to bring that up here.
Second time that you've made a comment towards pyramid schemes. The first time, man, I talked to you. It was polite. I was just asking you respectfully, hey, just make sure that you don't do any of that. You're not supposed to do that anyways. And we agreed, man. And then now you're going back on that. And it's like, dude, that literally affects my business.
The posts are down.
Okay.
There's really nothing else there. And if your business is legitimate, then you have nothing to worry about.
That's not, look, Aaron.
You have nothing to worry about.
Come on, man. You know as well as I know that you can literally attack a company whether they're legitimate or not. Like, a good example of this just in business is there are good restaurants that have shut down because of Yelp. Because of Yelp, people had a bad experience or a bad run-in, and then they literally, bad reviews, all of a sudden that restaurant goes out of business.
Well, reviews aren't illegal. I've never written anything down or anything like that.
I'm not, Aaron. Come on, man. Like, you're.
I'm sorry. I just have to laugh because he sounds so desperate at this point. Because you are literally everything he's firing at you. You're taking and you're slamming it down, man. Like, anytime he says, "Come on, man," it's you never wrote a review. Like, this is not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about reviews. And the whole purpose of Yelp and the whole purpose of reviews is to educate people about the experiences.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. The only time there's something wrong with that is with companies like this and like them, who require their leaders to write fake reviews, usually on Glassdoor or on Indeed.
Yeah.
We've heard so many people say that.
Yeah, either like requiring, or I don't know, some sort of like telling your guys, hey, put a review, like just like, hey, put some positive comments in here or something like that, because I've taken a look around and I've seen comments from people who are in the business write down positive comments, so every single one that I saw, they came from people who were working there. Everything that was negative was from people who most likely weren't working there, or were there or about to leave, something like that.
Intelligent human being. You're not like, don't act dumb when I'm talking to you, man. Like when I'm saying that, when you post stuff on social media and you're defaming, a company, and you're making them look a certain way, and underneath you're painting them underneath a certain light, you're literally like tearing. That's why it's illegal. That's why they made it a federal law that you can't do that, because you can't attack a business like that.
Well,
like you're not.
I never wrote that LAE is a pyramid scheme. I mean, I shared a meme. If you want to associate the two, I don't know what else to tell you.
Okay. Aaron, I just am so confused because, like, man,
I'm confused too. I mean, I don't know what's going on here.
Why do you have to post something 7 months later? What does that have to do with anything right now? Why are you attacking me? Like, I don't understand how you can't see that that's an attack.
I don't really know what's going on here. I mean, I don't really know what there is to explain or anything. I don't understand this. I'm extremely confused, honestly.
What's okay?
I'm confused. I mean, you're somehow keeping tabs on me and my personal profile, and I don't know how that's happening.
We're involved with people, Aaron. We're involved with people.
That's pretty weird.
The world is connected. The world is connected. And it's not hard when somebody literally comes at you and attacks you, it's so blatantly in public. It's not hard for word to get around. Hey, did you see what Aaron posted about your company? Like,
it wasn't public.
It clearly got to somebody, because it clearly came to me. And I'm sitting here like, what did I do to this guy to deserve this? I did nothing to you at all. I literally have done nothing to you. If anything, I've done more for you than stuff against you.
Well, I don't really know what else to tell you other than everything that was posted was taken down. Also, everything that I posted was on private pages.
Was what? I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I'm not trying to be funny. Yeah. You're literally breaking up.
The things that I posted were on private pages, and if there's really nothing else to say about that. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the conversation is done. And if you have any more questions, please watch The Slave Circle on YouTube, and you'll understand where things are coming from. So thank you very much. I won't be posting anymore. And thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I hope you do well, and I hope you have a wonderful time with your business, okay?
Don't patronize me, man.
I'm not patronizing. I'm just letting you know. Thank you so much for your time, okay?
How about this?
Have a wonderful rest of your day, okay?
How about just saying an apology and saying that it's not going to happen again, man? How come you can't even do that? Why are you being so, like...
I'm not. I'm just letting you know. Please watch The Slave Circle on YouTube, and if you have any questions, that's where you can find your answers. So thank you very much. And this conversation is over. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Aaron, if I find,
and please don't contact me again. Thank you. Bye.
I'm going to contact you.
Oh, that was a beautiful ending.
Thank you.
It's so interesting. And I'm not really sure how to read this.
Yeah.
How personally he takes this one single quote unquote attack,
Mm-hmm.
Like you said when you were talking to him, if his business was legitimate and if it was so successful, what you say really shouldn't matter. And the fact that does he go after everybody? Does that mean every negative review, if he knows who it is, he's going to personally try to go after everybody? Is one really negative review going to sink this huge successful company? And how thin-skinned do you have to be
Yeah.
to take criticism so personally? I mean, I've
Yeah.
been called every name in the book the past few years. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I'm still making videos. So does this mean that he has to find a career where he'll never face criticism? I mean, it's
That's
really,
not, just thinking about it logically and using reason. First of all, that's just never going to happen. That's not how the world works. You're going to be criticized no matter where you go for any reason. And, just to take things so personally while at the same time, gaslighting you throughout the whole entire call, talking about what did we ever do to you and things like that, just it's just ripe with that. And just going back to how you even see my posts in the first place, because at this point, like I explained before, my pages are private. In order to see anything that I post, you have to be friends with me. You have to be connected to me that way. And the fact that you're seeing them means that there are people who are in your office who are seeing these things and reporting them to you. And that is the only way, that he could have seen anything of my posts. And it's definitely safe to say that after that phone call, I purged every single person I was friends with who had anything to do with the business, whether they were in, his office or anyone else's office. Like I had to do it. I couldn't take any chances, especially because it's at the point where you don't have access to anything that I see, but you're going to use people in the business to keep tabs on me, or maybe anyone else for that matter. I don't know. And that's just creepy. That's outright creepy. It's kind of harassment too, honestly. Like you have no right to be doing that. That's just, that really says a lot about you.
now that essentially this whole ordeal is over. Until this video gets published, and then who knows what's going to happen. But um, to anyone who comes across this video, who might still be in the business or knows people that are still in the business, what can they look for? What based on your experience, even all these months later, can you tell them, these are signs you need to really pay attention to, that you're
Yeah.
involved in something that you don't want to be involved in?
Yeah. You really need to pay attention to how they speak to you. You need to pay attention to, you really need to pay attention to, there are so many details you have to pay attention to. And my thing is that, the one thing that helped me out the most was doing research, asking questions, because they absolutely frown upon you asking questions. And the questions that you do ask, it's supposed to, in a way, they only like questions that help you get deeper into what their business is. Questions like that are fine, but questions that like challenge them, they're going to have a problem with that. And, like I also said, doing research, coming across your documentary and then just watching all the extra takes and, checking out the sources that you use as well, and just finding all that information, you'll be able to make logical and reasonable decisions.
Mhm.
And, because of that, I was able to handle the situation like this.
Mhm.
And, just to anyone else who's watching this who feels like they're stuck in something and it doesn't feel right, I implore you to ask questions, do research, test out what, test things. That's how you gather information. You test something. So ask questions that may challenge them. Do research on, I absolutely recommend watching the Slave Circle documentary. And not just that, but the extra takes too. Because a lot of the extra takes that I watched, I watched ones that were sort of related more to my situation. So if I saw the word like Credico attached to the video, then I would watch that. And honestly, I would just recommend watching all of them anyway, because you just learn so much. And you know, do research and ask questions. Like you challenge where you're at and think critically, because the one thing they don't want you to do is to think critically. Because if you don't, then you'll stay. And that's honestly what happened to me. I wasn't thinking critically to a degree of everything that happened, to everything that was happening to me and why I was there. I mean, the one thing that really helped me out was really holding on to my personal values. I like spending time with friends and family. I like taking time off after working, who doesn't want to do that? So that's what I recommend. I wish we could do more. It's frustrating. It can be frustrating, but that's what I recommend at this point.